Section 8.3, equilibrium. This is the last section in Chapter 8. Don't start freaking out. You're not going to have a quiz or a test yet. Chapters 8 and Chapters 9 will be combined. So we're talking about equilibrium. When we talk about equilibrium, we're talking about the center of mass. And that's the point on any object that moves in the same way as a particle would. To kind of give you an idea of center of mass is we will do an activity in class tomorrow or on Monday, kind of explaining the idea of how center of mass works. So center of mass is the center of gravity on your body. Now, if you had to take just a general guess out there for men or women, who has a lower center of mass? All right. You have to think about the physiological makeup of the female anatomy versus the male anatomy to kind of get your answer. But who has a lower center of mass? If I give you hints, the sex that has the lower center of mass typically is more stable on their feet and are a little more acrobatic and maybe slightly better at gymnastics due to this, like such things as being on a balancing beam or anything along those lines. So the correct answer is females have a lower center of mass. The reason being is that typically the female physique has wider hips for the purpose of childbearing, but you have wider hips, which is going to put that mass slightly lower, right about on your hip bones. Where on men are taller, leaner, and broader in the shoulders, which means that their center of mass is much higher, kind of more above their belly button. And we will do an activity in class to kind of reiterate and show tomorrow or on Monday why that center of mass counts. So, physics in real life, when we continue to talk about the center of mass and stability. What factors determine whether a vehicle is stable or prone to a rollover in accidents? You might remember back in the late 90s that Ford had issues with a lot of its extended SUVs rolling over. Now, why is the case to that? Well, because they're making the vehicles so tall, so high, that their center of mass was above the wheel well. And when your center of mass was above the wheel well, if you would take corners at extremely high speeds, you would lose your center of mass and the vehicle would tip over and be prone to rollovers. So that is one reason, center of mass. All right, the other is stability. If an external force is needed to tip it, you might be more stable if the direction of torque is due to weight, tends to keep you upright. So if your center of mass lies above the base. Put that in perspective, women, you are a little more stable on your feet because your center of mass is naturally lower than a guy. All right, and we talked about how the physique works with that, so stability. Same thing with a car. All right, if you've ever tried to rock a car, it's a lot easier to rock maybe an SUV because its center of mass is higher off the ground than a smaller car. All right, so that is center of mass. When we talk about center of mass, we can also talk about centrifugal force, which is not centripetal force, it's centrifugal force. And centrifugal force is that apparent force that seems to be pulling on a moving object when you're rotating, but there's actually no physical push. So the key idea behind this is how the Earth works. Right? The Earth is spinning, and that creates a force, right? Or an apparent force that deflects objects in a rotational path. That creates a Coriolis effect, or Coriolis force, which kind of trends which direction the winds will blow on Earth. And you can see it's kind of broken into each hemisphere. The southern and northern is kind of broken into thirds. The United States exists solely between the 30th and 60th degrees of latitude. So what you can see here is all weather patterns in the United States, for that reason, move left to right. But that is centrifugal force. That is center of mass. We'll do a couple activities on in class for that on Monday, and you'll have an assignment kind of summing up Chapter 8. Hope you have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.